Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. Full Time is presented by the Game Sports Podcast and powered by 91 Network. You are listening to Season 4, Episode 26 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. A reminder to listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, we welcome you back to Full Time, where we get to talk about the sport that connects us all. Gee, it's another opportunity here for us to cover the sport that we love. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It was nice to get a little break of like the footy every single day for the past 3-4 weeks.
Right?
I miss it now. It was nice to get that little break. I miss it now, so I'm glad to be back on the show talking with you. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I couldn't be better. We're going to talk about a multitude of things here in today's show. I'm physically drained, but mentally and everything else, I'm doing very, very well. So I cannot wait for today's show. And in today's show, we are going to, of course, look at Euro 2024, the Copa America, the summer transfer market, and local soccer. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. And without further ado, Gaetano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We get today's show started with reviewing the quarterfinals from Euro 2024. Gee, another knockout round has occurred. What did you make of the quarters at this major tournament?
Um, Again, it's kind of a running theme from this so far. Outside the England game, it was fantastic. You know, goals, excitement, big blocks, great defending. It was, great tactical battles, and the England game. But yeah, outside of that, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better myself. And what we're going to do right here and now is we're going to review each game that occurred over the quarters at Euro 2024. And first, it was a heavyweight tilt that we all very much looked forward to, and that was between Spain and Germany. It required extra time after things ended 1-1 after 90 minutes, and it was Spain who found a winner in the 119th minute to win the game by a score of 2-1. Spain are into the semifinals. G, you said it on our last show. Bookmark it right now. And I quote, this will be the best game of the tournament. And I think you made not only a great case, I think that you hit it spot on. An unbelievable game with an enticing result. Could have gone either way. What are you saying here, man?
Yeah, I nailed that. I think not to brag, but I think I got that one pretty good. Yeah, just like you said, just heavyweights. It was in terms of star power, I think the biggest game of the tournament. No real, kind of okay players. Like everyone involved in that game was, a legitimate superstar. I thought both coaches got their tactics pretty spot on. It wasn't just two teams sitting in their box defending for 90 minutes. There was great countering. It was just beautiful. And Spain, I think I would say rightfully win. I thought they just showed a little more. Germans kind of lacked a little bit of sharpness up front. Kai Havertz again missing a couple big chances. I just thought it was fantastic. Capped off with the Mikel Merino winner celebrating in the stadium. Have you seen that clip? His dad scored for the Spanish national team in that stadium. Like I think it was like 30 something years ago. So he did the same celebration as him running around the corner flag.
Oh, I didn't see that clip. You got to send that to me after.
Absolutely, I will. But yeah, I thought, just uh, like to me, that's like the perfect encapsulation of like the Euros as a tournament was that game. Kind of we talked about how like the Euros is like really tactical, organized, and Copa America is like a knife fight behind a bar. Like this was peak Euros for me. I thought it was just a brilliant game.
Yeah, I was sat there on the couch watching that game on the edge of my seat from minute 1 to minute 120. And I just thought to myself, obviously this has to end at some point, but I just never wanted it to end. It was just, for so many reasons, it was just a beautiful game of football. And again, if Germany would have won, I would have been okay with that. Spain won. I'm okay with that. But I did say on our last show too, and obviously you hit it spot on that you said it was going to be the best game of the tournament. Of course it was. But I did say that it would be a damn shame that one of these teams would have to go now. Really wish that both of them would have had a crack in the semifinals, or if this game would be played, for example, as the Euro 2024 final. But regardless, Spain do go through, and we tip our hat, of course, to Nagelsmann and Germany, but we also tip our hat, of course, to Spain. Next, we had another game that was set to captivate the footballing fans across the globe, and that was between Portugal and France. It wasn't the captivating match, perhaps, that we had all hoped for. Again, it was okay, but when you're comparing it to the Spain and Germany game, nothing quite compares. Things ended 0-0 after 90 minutes and after 120 minutes, which meant that it was going to require penalties in order to decide a winner. It was France who were excellent from the spot, beating Portugal by a score of 5-3 on penalties. France get into yet another semifinal at a major tournament. The game itself, again, maybe wasn't exactly what we had hoped for because we would have wanted to see some goals. But regardless, France still haven't scored a goal from open play this tournament. They're into the semifinals. Can you give us some analysis of not just the game, but how France has been able to get through to this point in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call it all luck, because you don't luck your way to the semifinals of a European competition like this. But I mean, it's a little bit of luck. Barely squeaking by Belgium. By even thinner margins, getting past Portugal here, who really, if they had started, anyone up front except for Cristiano Ronaldo, probably would be in the semifinals of this tournament. I thought he was just, and like I don't want to sound like a total hater when I say this, but like he's past it. Like it's over. He cannot be that guy. And you feel bad for a guy like Diogo Jota or Gonzalo Ramos who are sitting on the bench going like, why am I here? Why am I not on a beach in Ibiza? Like why bring me here for him to just play like that, not get used. Yeah, I thought that was again a bit of luck for France. They don't look sharp. There's something is missing up front for them. That link between their midfield and their attack is just non-existent at this point. There was a quote from Mbappe. I don't remember how recent it was, but he was saying that he loved playing with Pogba because he would run and Pogba could just like hit him with a pass wherever he was. Like France would just kind of and not that you want to just your team ideology to just be like ping the ball and Mbappe will get there, but like won a World Cup.
Yeah.
And it's just like they don't have that outlet for him. He's just looked, for someone who's probably one of the highest paid players in the world right now at Real Madrid. He's just looked painfully average. So I think that's probably their biggest issue. Defensively, they've been fine, having conceded a ton of goals. So I think like that really isn't an issue for them. It's just the fact that with some of the best attacking players in the world, you have 2 own goals, a penalty, and the rest of your games have been like won on penalties. Like that's unacceptable, really, for a team of this caliber.
I agree. And I'm going to say this now. Obviously, I picked Portugal to win the tournament, so that's out the window for me now. So that means I could say a little bit more outlandish stuff and get away with it. If this, I honestly actually do believe, I really do believe this is the answer, as ridiculous as it might sound. If France starts Olivier Giroud from this point forward, they win Euro 2024. I want that put somewhere. I want it bookmarked. I want it something.
I'll clip it for you.
Because I just feel like that's the one thing that they can kind of go back to that they at least used to do. And again, I don't know enough about French football to know anything else, but I know that Giroud really, I don't even know if he's touched the pitch this tournament yet, and if he has,
I honestly didn't even know he was in the squad.
right. So, and the only reason I knew is because he's retiring from international football, but they kept showing him on the bench during the penalty shootout because apparently he was supposed to get subbed on, didn't happen. But I do believe that if Didier Deschamps decides to start him, I'm going to call it France is going to win, but very woeful in terms of the attack. Portugal, you could say that they deserved a better fate, but there was a lot of attacking talent that was left on the bench. I love Ronaldo. You know that. He didn't do anything, unfortunately. He just occupied the center backs, but the center backs weren't really bothered. He took all the free kicks. He took the penalties. I don't know. It's time is up, unfortunately. But yeah, it is what it is. So France go through, and we're gonna see if anything's going to change. But I think Olivier Giroud is the answer. G.
Oh, he's France's all-time top goal scorer, is he not?
I think so. Yeah.
Like it's like not a terrible guy to be calling off of the bench.
Yeah. So who knows? It could be what do you call it? A celebrity sub. Could be calling the celeb, bring the big dogs out, let them eat. So we're gonna see what happens. But France do go through somehow, some way. The third of the quarterfinal contests was contested between England and Switzerland. A 75th-minute Switzerland goal would put them ahead 1-0, but it was shortly canceled out thereafter, 5 minutes later, in fact, by England's Bukayo Saka. In the end, the match required penalties as well, and it was England who came out on top by a score of 5-4 on kicks from the spot. England are heading back to the Euro 2024 semifinals. G, again, to your point, you hit it on the head. This game did not provide a ton. Very tactical, very, again, just safe and just not entertaining. But again, England find a way to get the job done. It's unbelievable. Your thoughts?
They can't keep getting away with this, Scarps. Like, if they had played, and no disrespect to the Swiss or Slovakia or any of the teams in the group, but if they had played a serious team in this tournament, like,
Yeah.
they would be gone. It's just, yeah, again, like Gareth Southgate is just so lucky that there's so much individual star power in this team. He can't coach them for shit, but having a guy like Saka who can cut in and fire a shot like perfectly off the post into the corner like that, like that's not. I guarantee you, Gareth Southgate has not coached him in any capacity about that. We did say that there should have been some sort of change going into this game. They switched to the kind of back three, back five. So there was, he did try and change. Didn't I don't want to say it didn't work. Because it was better. We talked about it during the game. Like it was better than what they were doing before, but I mean, there's very little they could have done to have played worse than before. Yeah, just terribly, terribly coached, and relying on kind of individual brilliance. I will say the Swiss looked very good. I'm heartbroken for Emmanuel Akanji, who probably was one of the better defenders of this tournament, but he's going to be remembered, now just for that penalty miss, seeing Switzerland go out. Just one of my favorite things. It wasn't from this game; it was actually from a previous game. A player who scored, and we were just talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. The player scored in the 2014 World Cup, 2016 Euros, Euro 2021, World Cup 22. Not Cristiano Ronaldo. It's Xherdan Shaqiri.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Can I also say he almost scored off of the bloody corner kick?
Oh my god! If he would have pulled that off, that would have been one of the greatest Euro goals of all time.
He tried it. Like that was on purpose.
Like I love that for him. He's just, again, like we've talked about, he's one of those players that just like shows up in international tournaments and just bangs in goals for fun. So it's a shame to see him go out, considering his like stellar international career. And again, just in the fashion going out to this just awful England team. But yeah, they do manage to squeak through.
Wild. You made so many good points there. Obviously, England did change the system. They went to that back three, but the personnel didn't change really. I mean,
It was just, was it Konsa came in as the third center back?
But he didn't have a choice because he was suspended, right?
Yeah.
So the subs worked. Luke Shaw got some minutes. He hasn't played for about 4 odd months, give or take. But even him today as well in his presser, he started laughing and he said, like, yeah, we should be doing good. Like, see the roster that we have? Like, it's an embarrassment of riches what England has in terms of not just attacking talent, just talent in general. Again, we talked about it. They did play better, England. The rhythm and the pace and the speed of the passing was better. Not much generated in the attack still, but they did play higher up the pitch. They did counter press a little bit more. So I don't know if this is going to be like one very small step forward and then they're going to take one huge one going into the semifinals. But regardless, England do find a way to get through, and commiserations, of course, to Switzerland because they were a fun team to watch this tournament, and they probably deserved a better fate. And last but not least, it was the Netherlands up against Turkey, and that would see who is going to book the final place in the semifinals at Euro 2024. After Turkey started the match with a 1-0 lead, it was the Netherlands who answered the call not once, but twice, and subsequently won the match by a score of 2-1. The Netherlands are off to the semifinals. Some folks are arguing that they have the best fan base at the tournament. I kind of concur with that. They're awesome to see. But what was your take on the game?
Yeah, it was for all kind of the hype we talked about. Netherlands defensively, how solid they were. A little shaky that start, giving up a pretty early goal. I want to say it was around the 25th-ish minute. They just didn't look great. And it was something you mentioned last time we talked, was like the rhythm that they were playing with. It was just a little off. But they did really well to recover, especially in the second half. And that 10-minute span that saw them score those 2 goals. We talked about how they were very kind of wasteful in front of goal. They finally decided, hey, like we got to clean up our scraps here. Like we got to, finish our dinner, put this away. Just ended up being pretty comfortable for them in the end. I thought Turkey played all right, but it was just far too much quality in that Netherlands team for them.
Yeah, it was a step above, and again, the Netherlands will be much more tested, you would think, in the semifinals. But regardless, they've been a good outfit this tournament. They've done more than enough to get through for sure, and definitely want to give props to Turkey. I didn't realize as well how young their squad was. So they will definitely be back without doubt. And I think at future tournaments, G, and maybe you can provide something on this, I think they're going to be a huge threat.
Oh, yeah, that Arda Güler kid is disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when he signed for Real Madrid, and I was like, okay, this is just like, remember when they signed Odegaard, and it was they make the big deal of it, and then he plays in the academy or they loan him out. And no disrespect to Odegaard, but he was not this good when he was 17, 18. Güler is the fact that he's Real Madrid quality at that age is just disgusting. And I haven't seen a lot of him because he did not play a ton of minutes for Madrid this year. So getting to see him playing this tournament was it was an eye-opening experience. I was pleasantly surprised by that. Outside of really Çalhanoğlu, the captain, and even then he's not the oldest player. He'll probably still be around for at least the next World Cup. It's weird because I've always just in my head Turkey's always a 33 to 35-year-old team, just always just the old heads, Burak Yilmaz and guys like that. So it's really cool to see kind of this next generation coming up and kind of maintaining that standard for them.
Yeah, it's definitely a team that every nation needs to watch out for moving forward. So credit to them for having a good tournament. And to review our picks, Gitano, you only ended up going 1 for 4 because you actually picked upsets, which again, that's a gamble. It can happen, and it could have went the other way. In this case, it didn't. I went 3 for 4. Portugal obviously let me down. I picked them to win the whole thing. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But I think, and again, we'll talk about this here. These games keep getting harder and harder to pick, given the quality and kind of unknowingness, of the competition. But also from the tactics that the managers select. So for you, do you feel that kind of same thing, that it is getting harder and harder to pick?
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's just so much quality, like we talked about, even with England, with terrible tactics. There's still so much star power, so much quality individually that that kind of it can override and beat well drilled tactical team like Switzerland. So yeah, it does make this pretty much just a 50-50 crapshoot. And I did really poorly that round.
Well, we were both in just top form. I've maintained some form here, obviously, but sometimes you have those little dips. But I have a very confident feeling that you will rebound, my friend. And now with the quarterfinals having wrapped up, it is time to shift our focus here at Full Time onto the semifinals of this competition, which we will outline and preview for you all, right now. In the first semifinal, it will be Spain versus France. Some of the biggest names, not just in European football, but in world football. What is going to happen in this game?
I think the French are going to get found out here if they can't figure out their attack. And I think there's a real possibility that Spain can hit them for 3, 4, 5. They are just that good. The French just seem that little bit disconnected. Their defense has been fine. I just think, if they aren't generating anything, if they're not, causing a threat, I think this could get really ugly for them.
You took the approach last show of taking upsets, and I would obviously, Spain is favored in this game. Somehow, some way, I think Didier Deschamps is going to squeak it. He's going to get lucky, if you will, and maybe by some divine miracle, he'll start Giroud. I'm going to take France. I'm going to say that they might not even score a goal from open play, and this might be a case of this is the first team to make Euro final without having scored a goal from open play. There'll be some sort of stupid storyline. I think it's going to happen. I'm going to go France, G, and I might be kicking myself after that. I don't.
I mean, like it's not a terrible shout, like again with so much like quality and attack, like it's not in the realms of unlikeliness that Mbappe just fires a cross in and it hits a defender and goes in. Like
Right?
own goals, for somehow like West Ham's not linked with own goal yet. I'm really surprised I haven't seen that. But yeah, like it's totally possible that the French pull off some stupidity like that and get through.
Football, anything could happen. We say it on our
Yep.
show all of the time. The second semifinal, which will be contested between England and the Netherlands, is set to excite, but we won't know until the football starts rolling. Gitano, a spot in the final is going to await for one of these two teams, but who is going to get there and why?
So what I would really like to see is for England to kind of, in the first 10 minutes of this game, realize like, oh, like we're actually playing like one of the best teams in world football, and kind of pull their head out of where, and actually play to the quality that they have in that 11. I genuinely, as much shit as I've talked about them for the last 3 weeks, I want to see that because it's such a good team, and if they played well, it would be beautiful. They would be one of the best teams in world football. So I would really, really like to see that. I think that would be a fantastic game. We talked about the rhythm that the Dutch play with, their defensive solidity, a little wasteful up front. I think they'll get plenty of chances with this England defense. I think this is a lot closer of a game than I would like to think that it's going to be. I don't want to pick England. Like I would like to see them go out because just for the memes. But I keep not picking them and they keep winning. So I'm going to take England on the hopes that it's the reverse jinx and that they will now lose.
And I was actually going to bring that up, so I don't have to now. But yeah, I was going to that every time that you say that they're going to lose, they end up winning. So if you do pick the fact that you're going to say that they're going to win, maybe this is when they're going to lose. I'm also going to take England. I've just been sticking with them this whole time. So why would I stop now type of thing? And again, it's not hope at this point that anything's going to change, but who knows? With all of that star power in that team, and I'm not dissing the Dutch at all because they've got a lot of star power as well. But sometimes it papers over cracks. Like good players can make a bad coach look good, if that makes any sense. So who knows? I just feel like something's going to turn up well for England in this game. They're going to end up scoring some goals. They're going to get to another final, and it's going to be all the headlines and all the storylines that, hey, they're back at another major final. Gareth Southgate's done it again, but they haven't been great in the tournament, but they're still there. What could that mean for his future? I just see all these headlines, G.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong in saying that. I think, the only thing I don't want to hear is that stupid "It's Coming Home" song. That's the only thing I'd like. That's like the biggest reason why I don't want England to go through, because I don't want to hear that song ever again.
Me neither. I was just happy that we at least got to say 3 years ago that "It's Coming Rome."
Yep.
That was okay, so I could stomach it. But regardless, you're gonna go Spain and England to meet in the Euro 2024 final. I'm gonna take France and England to meet in the Euro 2024 final. And a reminder to our listeners that the semifinals of Euro 2024 will be played on Tuesday, July 9th and Wednesday, July 10th. Both games are going to kick off at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on your local television sports network. And in our next episode of Full Time, we will be able to highlight the two teams who have advanced to the Euro 2024 final. The Copa America, just like the Euros, has wrapped up its quarterfinals, and the teams who are advancing to the semifinals have been confirmed. G, did the quarterfinals of this competition, this is a dumb question, did it live up?
They were phenomenal, Scarps. Like this tournament is just very quickly become my favorite thing ever.
Ever.
Like I feel like it doesn't even like obviously there's fantastic teams in this tournament, but like even like the quote unquote like worst games of this tournament with the quote unquote worst teams were still so it's a different type of exciting. It's just chaos, it's madness. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it's captivated me to no end, and there's been some really cool stuff coming out of this tournament. So again, it's one of those things I wish it didn't have to end, and I'm sad that it's kind of slowly coming to a close. But we are in such a good position. We're going to talk about why we're in a good position right now. Let's take a look at how those quarterfinals finished up, and we are going to first start with Argentina and Ecuador. Argentina held on to a 1-0 lead, but it was Ecuador who found a late equalizer in the 91st minute to send it to penalty kicks. Despite a Lionel Messi penalty miss, it was Argentina who got the job done by a score of 4-2 on penalties and booked their spot in the semifinals. It was an unreal, and I mean unreal in every sense of the word, showing of resilience and fight and determination from Ecuador to claw their way back, because they also missed a penalty in the game. Enter Valencia, he missed his. So with everything that happened in the game, all the theatrics, dramatics, and everything else in between, what can you say about it?
So I want to start with like the 90 minutes because like that was just batshit insane.
Yeah.
Um, I did not expect Ecuador to, be able to put up that kind of fight against Argentina. I thought, oh, they're going to give 110%, but Argentina's just, going to get through them. That was incredible to watch. Coming back, scoring that late equalizer, they nearly won it in stoppage time. Like it was, on a razor's edge. So I thought that was just fantastic. And then, I mean, we have to talk about Emiliano Martinez. He he has saved 12 of the 24 penalties he's faced for Argentina in competition. That is like just terrifying.
Yeah.
Like I've never taken a competitive penalty in my life, only just, for fun. I can't imagine like the horror of, walking from half, just staring at him going, that guy's going to save my penalty. Like that's 50 meters of just staring, going, yeah, he's going to save this penalty. Like there's no chance he doesn't. Like he is unbelievable. And like, it's just nuts to me. He's quite literally, won them a World Cup with that. He's on the verge of winning them a Copa America with that. It's just, I've never seen a goalkeeper like that in my life. Just, ice in his veins, like doesn't do it justice. He is just from another planet.
He is. And I think the biggest thing with him is that he just doesn't care.
No.
He doesn't care. Like, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And I'm, like you said, I'm just going to, toe the line. And I'm just going to make a save. That's just, I'm here to do what I have to do. He's wild. But that game itself, again, actually, I was watching that one in bed because that one was a later one. Sitting up on the, it was just unbelievable in every sense. And it could have ended terribly for Argentina, but regardless, they do, of course, go through. Next, we saw Venezuela go up against Canada in a nail biter, which will be remembered for a long time. Might have to put it in the Canadian Heritage Minutes, in fact. After Canada took an early 1-0 lead, it was an equalizing goal from Venezuela that capitalized on a Canadian goalkeeping error. The game required penalties, and it was Canada who did the business from the penalty spot, winning by a score of 4-3, and thus getting themselves into the semifinals and setting up a rematch against Argentina. Gee, I say goosebumps, but again, that doesn't do it justice. Unbelievable scenes. I don't know what else to say. I'm going to turn it to you to find out where we got to start here.
I was literally just about to say, like, I've got goosebumps with you, like, recalling the game, because that was, and I mean, kind of every game up, kind of at this point now, we're talking about like the biggest games in the history of the Canadian men's national team program. Sixth game in charge for Jesse Marsh. It was just, it didn't get off to a great start for Canada, losing Tajon Buchanan to injury and training, losing him for the rest of the tournament. So it was kind of a damper on the start of the game, kind of going into it. But, Schaffelberg, Canadian, like Nova Scotian Messi, with the beautiful goal. Um, to get Canada started, it was just like the limbs when that ball went into the net. Like
Yeah.
it was unlike anything I've ever experienced with this team before. Outside of Fonzie at the World Cup, like it was just, and even with that, not no disrespect to that kind of group and what happened there, but like I didn't really think we were going to beat Croatia. I really didn't think we were going to go win the World Cup. And now I'm sitting here, going, oh, like we we might win Copa America. Like we've got a shot. um, it's so wild. Obviously unfortunate with the error for the Venezuela goal. I mean, it's a very different back line than kind of the group from like the World Cup qualifying and the World Cup. The center backs are basically completely different now. It's Bombito, and I forget who the other one is. It's not. It was Miller. Kamal Miller was kind of the leader of that. He's not playing as big a role anymore, obviously with his age. So I'm not surprised that there's a bit of shakiness, especially it's like I said, Jesse Marsh's sixth game in charge. Um, but I loved the fight from the Canadians. Just you know, a guy like Alistair Johnson or like Richie Larea, I love them because they're like that's how I would play is just into every tackle. Just 120% isn't enough for them. Just the battle. I just loved it so much. And then penalties. We were just talking about Emmy Martinez, like Max Crepeau.
Yeah.
Like, that was again, like for Canadians, like the only kind of comparable for me is the women's national team, because there was a period where Aaron McLeod was just killer from penalties. Just they joke when they won the women's gold medal in the Olympics that she was the national secretary of defense after that. Like haha, like Max Crepeau is coming for that title because that was a ridiculous performance from him. And then also just the composure, specifically for Moise Bombito, who was taking his first professional penalty. He's what, like 20 something years old, young kid. That someone in the crowd is like shining the laser on his eyes. The ref like stops, like so it's just a delay, and he looked like he, just didn't care. Like he was just so zoned in. He was one of the calmest penalties I've ever seen. And then Ishmael Kone, that was limbs. Like that was just an unbelievable moment for the entire country, for the program. Yeah, it's so wild to think that Canada is one of the best four South American teams in the world right now.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable to think that. And there was a group, well, because we had all of our soccer guys together, as we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. So we're all watching that game together, and like you said, limbs at the end, just every emotion just escapes your body. Just the mere fact that, hey, my God, we've actually just won when we maybe didn't think necessarily that we would. That game had everything and some, and now we're into a semifinal. Could you believe it? It couldn't have been scripted any better, I don't think. So cannot wait for what's ahead of Canada, even though the task that is in front of us is huge. The third quarterfinal, which was played between Colombia and Panama, was hopefully set to excite, but in some ways it did, in others not so much. Colombia, they came and did what they had to do. They thumped Panama by a score of 5-0. Panama got to their first knockout game of a major tournament and deserved to get there without doubt, but they really didn't turn up, and this one wasn't even close. Colombia is through, Panama is out. What can you say here?
Yeah, not a ton to say about this one. Just James Rodriguez kind of again turning it up, rolling back the years for Colombia, and Panama just being kind of outclassed in every other kind of aspect. I don't even think it's fair to say they didn't turn up. I think they turned up. It was just they just had nowhere near the quality to deal with this Colombia side, and unfortunately for them, it got a little ugly.
Yeah, it did, and not much else to say. Colombia do deserve to go through, but of course we do tip the hat to Panama. And the last quarterfinal matchup was a most certainly star-studded affair with the likes of Uruguay going up against Brazil. After things ended goalless, it required penalties to settle the matter, and it was Uruguay who came out on top by a score of 4-2 on kicks from the penalty spot. Uruguay get through, and Brazil are bounced from the competition. Have your say, my friend.
Yeah, this is a pretty big one. Brazil perennial favorite. eliminated in the quarterfinals is not something you expect. It's also weird to say that Canada's gone farther in this competition than Brazil has. That's again, who if I'd said that to you 2-3 weeks ago, you would have asked if I got out of the asylum. But Uruguay kind of did what they do, and they beat the holy hell out of Brazil. 26 fouls committed by Uruguay, 15 by Brazil. To say it was a war would be putting it very lightly. It's kind of ugly that you have to do it that way, but with a team with such skill as Brazil, you kind of almost have to if you can't play to their level, you got to drag them down with you. And Uruguay have kind of mastered that. Ugarte and Valverde just looked like they were ready to snap everything that moved in half in the midfield. They looked fantastic, and ultimately going to penalties. Brazil were kind of let down. Takers you'd expect to be scoring their penalties, not scoring them. I feel like that's probably their biggest regret.
I would say so. And yeah, again, you want to talk about a lack of tactics. I mean, like you said, it was an absolute war. It was an absolute war, that game. And when it came down to it, kicks from the penalty spot had to determine it. There was only going to be one winner. And in this case, it was Uruguay. A lot of debate right now, though, in basically every media outlet, because just for folks that don't know, there is no extra time at the Copa America. The game ends at level at the end of 90 minutes. You go straight to penalty kicks. So do you think, Gitano, that this is a good thing? Is this going to be the way forward for football? Or, does this necessarily mean all the time that the right team is going to win? The fact that there's no extra time, I think there's a lot to discuss with that.
Yeah, I don't particularly hate it.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, don't get me wrong. It's something I'm not very used to. But like I don't initially hate it. The other thing is, like, how many times do you see a game goes to extra time and it's still tied after that 30 minutes, right? Like, is it it's not like with the NHL, like when they switch from their old overtime, it used to be 5-on-5 for 5 minutes, and then the shootout to 3-on-3, and then you saw there was a dramatic decrease in games going longer because there were goals getting scored faster. Like, I don't particularly think that you're going to see, I don't think you're going to see a ton of goals in that extra 30 minutes. I think it's almost better to kind of rip the Band-Aid off and just go right to penalties. But I don't really care either way. I think the old way is fine. I think if they want to kind of switch to this new way, save the players a half hour on their legs, I don't hate that. You're always hearing the players complaining about kind of the amount of games they're playing. If you're going to a tournament playing 2, 3, 4 games going to extra time, that's an extra 2 hours, on most of their legs. That adds up too. So, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm kind of just, whatever they, FIFA or whatever competition kind of decides to go with, like, I don't particularly care either way.
See, I've heard so many good arguments on both sides of the aisle, so I don't particularly know what I'm for. I tend to lean, and again, this is outside of international competition. If you go to the club aspect of it, if you don't have so many useless games and having like guys participate in so many competitions, I know the FA Cup scrapped their replays now, which again, that can be problematic in and of itself, but I don't necessarily refer to that as being useless. I'm talking about other fixtures and other games that are stacked up on top. If you can sort of eliminate some of that, save the players' legs, and then they go to these tournaments and they know, hey, if we're level, we have to go into extra time. I kind of lean towards that argument that I would like to see extra time before penalties, but like you said, you rip the Band-Aid off, you go straight to the entertainment. So for us as fans, it's almost in some cases a little bit better. I think it was really summarized well in that Portugal versus France game. The extra time had nothing. Like, it was a waste of 30 minutes of my life. So, sometimes, yeah, you'd rather just get to the penalties. But regardless, for the one that we just discussed, it is Uruguay who do go through over Brazil on penalties. And Gitano, to review our picks, you had 2 out of 4 correct. The upset of Panama let you down. Of course, Brazil did as well. Somehow, some way, I got all 4 correct. An absolute rarity in terms of footballing predictions. That like never happens, probably won't happen again, but we are all set for the semifinals. Gee, how excited can we be?
I was actually talking to our buddy Brody earlier today. I'm like, I'm not The nerves haven't set in yet. Once the lineups come out tomorrow, then the nerves are kicking in. But for right now, I'm just kind of, uh, hopeful, not too nervous. Very much looking forward to the game, though.
Yeah, I'm in the same position right now, and tomorrow it's definitely going to be a different feeling in the stomach and every other area of my mind that I could ever imagine. But of course, now the quarterfinals have concluded, so we've got to ramp up here for the semifinals of this competition. So let's take a look at what we have in front of us. First semifinal that we are going to review here is going to be played, of course, between Argentina and Canada. This is a rematch, by the way, of what happened in the group stage because they were in the same group. And nonetheless, our country is up against the champions of the world. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of every game moving forward here is the biggest in the history of this program on the men's side, anyways. Um, but yeah, when you're playing the reigning world champions, led by the greatest player of all time in a Copa America semifinal, like that's a bit of pressure. That's a bit of an occasion. I liked Richie Laray's comments from I was yesterday or earlier today, where he said like we're not the same team that played Argentina in the group stage. I think the group has grown very well into this competition. Kind of had to learn on the fly, um, both in kind of two aspects. In the aspect of like how these South American teams play, the physicality, the brutality of it, and also tactically with Jesse Marsch. Again, I can't say this enough. Like this is going to be his sixth game in charge, or sorry, seventh game. Um, the Venezuela game was his sixth. Like, so they're still learning kind of what he wants. I think he's actually done a really good job tactically. I really, as much as in our last episode I said like he's got to get Fonzie going. I almost after the Venezuela game, I'm really liking the decision to kind of have him like let him play left back. Don't put all of the pressure on him. Just let him do what he's best at. I really like that from him. But then you look at the other side of the field and it's Argentina and it's Lionel Messi and it's Julian Alvarez and it's Emi Martinez in that. Like it's I think intimidating is putting it lightly. It's probably the one of the greatest national teams on the planet right now. But there's just this weird confidence in me. I don't know where it comes from, but there's just like part of my brain that's just like, yeah, we got this. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think those boys in red and white are going to give, everything and then some and then a little more. And then when we think that they've given literally everything they can give, they're going to find something else to give. I expect it to be maybe not a war in the sense of the Brazil-Uruguay game, where guys were getting snapped in half all over the pitch. But I expect by the end of this game, I mean, either way, I think the boys are going to do us proud. Are we doing predictions right now, or are we waiting a bit?
We've got to do it. We've got to do it.
Canada and penalties.
Good God Almighty! Tell you what, you didn't bottle it, which is great.
Nope.
You can't
Nope.
bottle it. Again, there's not much more for me to say because of what you just said, and it's probably what 85% of the country's thinking. We know we're going to give everything. It's interesting. We're going to talk a little bit later about the local competition that just happened here. We were talking as a team for the team that I play for in our final. We're saying this is when we empty the tank. This is it in the final. This is a semifinal, but I almost feel like it's time for Canada to empty the tank here. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing, or whatever the case might be. I just know that Canada's going to give everything and some and a little bit more and a little bit extra and whatever else on top of that. Is that going to be enough to get past Argentina? We won't know until, of course, the game concludes tomorrow night. I have this quiet confidence, this strange confidence, this weird confidence. I've been backing Canada this entire tournament. I have to go with Canada, but I'm going to be a bit different to you. If it goes to penalties, I'll probably throw up. So if I can't take Canada to win on penalties, I'm going to have to say they do it in 90 minutes. But we're both going to take Canada. I just hope it can happen, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Jesse Marsch actually summarized it pretty well today. He's like, we could play the best game of our lives and it still might not be enough. which is just a terrifying thing to sit with for the next almost 24 hours here. But yeah, I expect the boys to give everything. Win or lose, whatever the result, we know they're going to do us proud. And yeah, that's gonna be a long 90 minutes, Scarps. That is going to be one of the longest 90 minutes of my life.
Yeah, and alls I can say, let's let this underdog story happen. Let's make it happen. I want it so
Absolutely.
bad. As a country, we want it bad. And the second semifinal is going to be a showdown between Uruguay and Colombia. Gee, total fireworks for this one. I'm certain of that. But who's going to come out on top and make it to the final?
I think when the dust is settled and the debris is cleared, because it's the Uruguayans are going to snap everything and everyone in half. I think the Uruguay is going to pull through. I think they have enough, actual, footballing ability to win this game. Plus that just the loose screws we've been talking about, where they're just, at this point willing to do anything and everything to win. I think that's just honestly, like, they're going to, I think, win this game, and whether it's Argentina or Canada in the final, I really think Uruguay have a hell of a shot at winning this tournament. I think they're going to get through. I don't think it'll go to penalties. I think they'll win it in regulation. But yeah, I think the Uruguayans will be the last one standing in the semifinal.
From a mentality point of view, I have no questions about who I'm picking to win this game. I just have a question of, are the goals going to come? Because really, for the team that I'm selecting, the goals haven't come. I am the same as you. I'm going to pick Uruguay. I've backed them this tournament as well. I think Bielsa is a fantastic coach, a wonderful coach. They do have to find a way, whether it's Darwin Nunez or somebody else. Like, somebody has to put the ball in the back of the net, because defensively they're going to do the job. That for me is not a question. First 3 minutes of the game, someone's going through the back of Rodriguez. That very clear.
And then he's out of the game 100%.
Yes. So, like, from that point of view, I have no doubts, zero doubts. But somebody does have to put the ball in the back of the net. So who it's going to be, I don't know. I do have a little bit of reservation, a little bit of doubt there, but I'm still going to pick Uruguay just the same, just like you did. So to review these picks, G, you've got Canada and Uruguay to meet in the final. So do I. I don't really care who makes a final from the other one, but hopefully Canada for us. But regardless, we've got two fantastic semifinals to look forward to, Gitano. And that, of course, will be played for the Copa America Tuesday, July 9th, tomorrow for us Canadians, which will go up against Argentina. And then Wednesday, July 10th, will be the Colombia-Uruguay game. Both games will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on your local television sports network. And just like the Euros, in our next episode of Full Time, we will be able to highlight the winners of the semifinals and those two teams, of course, who will make it to play in the Copa America final. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. You can download and access the Pizza Portal app for any of the two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Have a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. We now get to relax the shoulders a little bit. We're going to talk about the summer transfer market as that continues to move along. And of course, so do we right here on Full Time as we continue to highlight some of the transfers that have come through in the world of football. The following transfer market information comes from The Guardian, so be sure to check them out as they provide up-to-the-minute transfer market news. First, it's Douglas Luiz, who goes from Aston Villa to Juventus for a fee of $42.4 million. The Brazilian signs a 5-year deal with Juve after Villa agreed to the sale of their key player to alleviate profit and sustainability fears in the Premier League. Gee, it's, in my opinion, a very big move here. What can you say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of it. Just kind of I'm not a fan of the kind of circumstances that this move came about. PSR, it's just not. It's just not it. Scarps,
I know.
with these teams, trying to challenge for Europe, trying to compete with top teams, but being forced to sell their best players for kind of under market value. If we're going to be quite honest. There were talks of Douglas Luiz going for easily 50 or 60, last summer. He did quietly rack up 206 appearances for Villa, which I didn't realize until I was looking at his football page right now. I didn't realize he'd been there that long. But yeah, just having to sell one of your best players, to fit under these kind of dodgy financial rules. Not a big fan of it. I do think Juventus are getting a good player. I honestly wouldn't have hated him coming back to City. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good move for Juventus. I think it'll be a good move for him. I think he's probably becoming one of if not the best midfielders in Serie A with this move. So yeah, I think kind of from everyone's perspective, but Villa's, I think it's a pretty good move.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. I think that, he's a fantastic player. I think Juve is picking up a phenomenal player. But the only thing I'm going to say in terms of Villa, if there's going to be a team and a coach, not just one team or one coach, but I do back Unai Emery to be able to, kind of fix and tweak the squad to his liking, despite the fact that he's lost such a phenomenal player. So regardless, definitely a good move for Luis and Juve without doubt. Next, it's Ian Maatsen, who goes from Chelsea to Aston Villa for 37.5 million. Villa bolstered their squad with a 6-year deal for the left back, who played in the Champions League final with Dortmund last season, whilst on loan. G. Maatsen is currently on international duty with the Dutch at the Euros, so he's got a lot of wonderful things to look forward to. Is this a good move for Villa?
I love this move. Again, it's one of those things that, my brain still isn't fully like ready to accept, a team like Villa or a team like Newcastle, like being able to sign like these top young players, like, because in my head, this is a Manchester City, this is a Manchester United, this is an Arsenal type move. So I think this is a fantastic move for them at the price point. You've seen him compete at the highest level in Europe. I just think like all around, just a fantastic move for them.
Yeah, and I think that kind of, again, totally different positions, totally different profile of player and what have you. But I think that this kind of brings a little bit of hope and happiness back to Villa after they lose Luis. So again, all's well that ends well for the most part. Elliot Anderson goes from Newcastle United to Nottingham Forest for 35 million. The playmaker joins Forest on a 5-year deal as Newcastle decide to cash in. G, your analysis here.
Yeah, I thought he wasn't terrible in his last loan spell. Still really young, only 21. He's a big guy. Wins a lot of his aerial duels. I think he's going to add a little bit of steel to that Nottingham Forest midfield. Yeah, for the price range or for the value, like I don't hate it. I think it's a solid move. Nothing kind of earth shattering, but solid.
Yep. And me, when it comes to these transfers, I look at the value, the price, these sorts of things, but also look at the age of the player. So I don't want to go too hard in on him or who he's playing for or these types of things. I think he's got good upside. Is it going to be enough for Forest? I have my doubts going into the season. I know it's very early yet because it's only July, but we are about, give or take, a month away from the Premier League starting up again. But hopefully things go well for him because I would love to see that. And hopefully for Forest fans, it goes well for them as well. Yankubu Minte goes from Newcastle United to Brighton for 33 million. The promising winger impressed on loan at Feyenoord and feels the Amex is the right place for him to develop. Gee, do you think that this is a good move?
I very quietly like this move. 11 goals and 37 appearances in the Eredivisie is not something to kind of brush under the carpet. Like that's a very good return for he was 18, so he's 19 now. Like that is that's pretty impressive. Brighton have kind of in the last couple of years produced some fantastic wingers. Kind of the top one in my head being Mitoma. I think kind of this is if you're not going to go, play for like a super club, in quotations, like this is probably the place you want to go. I think this has the potential to kind of be a really, really good deal for them. And even if he turns out just to be like an okay player, not a world beater, they sell him for like a massive profit. Even if he's just fine, like for the fee they paid for him, I still think it's a pretty good deal.
I'm going to do an early show for this one. And I don't know the guy's name that was just signed on as Brighton's new head coach.
Well, he's like 30. He's like real young.
Yeah, so youngest ever Premier League manager he's going to be once the season kicks off next month. I don't think that this upcoming season is going to be good for Yankubu Minte. But I do think with development of the manager and time with the team, I do believe that, to his point, that the Amex is going to be the right place for him to develop, but patience is going to be the name of the game here. So in time, I think that this will become a good move. Kieran Dewsbury Hall goes from Leicester City to Chelsea for a fee of 30 million. The midfielder reunites with Enzo Maresca after his 12 goals last season helped the Foxes to the championship title. Gee, it's a 6-year deal that gets signed. Before I ask you your opinion of what you can make of this one, obviously one of my friends is a huge Chelsea fan. He really likes this deal. I don't know, enough about the player, shall I say, to kind of make a fair assessment like a Chelsea fan would. But yeah, some really positive things coming out about this one. What do you think?
I don't quite get it from a Chelsea perspective. We've kind of been talking for the last like 2 years now how bloated that squad is. I haven't seen enough outgoings to really see a spot, in the even in the 18 really for him right now. Unless Enzo Maresca is just gonna have him as a starter, and you're gonna either fit Fernandez and Caicedo in the midfield with him, or you're gonna sit one of the two who are nearly 100 million players each. I don't see it from that aspect. I think he's a fine player. Still only 25, plenty of upside. The fee they paid isn't terrible. I don't see him actually almost physically fitting in the squad at this point.
Yeah, well, for a couple of things, I wonder if Maresca is gonna one phase him in, just to try and like maybe take the first however many games of the season, the cup competitions, find a place for him, or if he's just gonna say, you know what, you're my guy, you're the one that did this, that, and the other, and I'm just gonna throw you in, and we're gonna make it work. But in some way, shape, or form, again, just if it weren't like if I were to read this information on the internet from like whoever and wherever, I would think to myself, maybe not. But the fact that it's coming from Chelsea fan, a Chelsea fan, excuse me, that I know that's really into the club, I do believe that in some way, shape, or form, it's going to turn out. And finally, Vivian Miedema goes from Arsenal women's to Manchester City women's in which follows a 7-year stint, of course, at Arsenal. She said, quote, she is prioritizing herself and choosing her new club, end quote. The 27-year-old scored a whopping 125 goals and 172 appearances for Arsenal, but the North London club opted against offering her a new contract. Gee, I'm going to hand it over to you here. What are your thoughts?
This is a groundbreaker. This is an earth shaker for the WSL. The WSL's all-time top goal scorer, joining City, still kind of in the prime of her career. Like she's not kind of in quotations old. It's not like she's over the hill. Like she's still got plenty of goals left in her. She's also the Dutch women's team's all-time top goal scorer. So I think anytime you sign someone with kind of that pedigree, it's a big deal. But also the fact that it was a free transfer, which I don't want to do this to you, but just the Arsenal to City free transfers they just keep coming. Hopefully she, actually no, I was gonna say hopefully she doesn't, but now I kind of think like hopefully she does pull an Adebayor if she scores against Arsenal this season. But yeah, I think adding her alongside Bunny Shaw, who won the WSL Golden Boot last season, like City is loading up their attack. I think obviously the WSL is the priority for them, but the City women's team hasn't really done anything in Europe. They failed to make an imprint there. So I think adding, someone of Vivian Miedema's quality is definitely kind of a signal of intent, and I expect City to make a massive push in Europe this year.
Yeah, you're getting a phenomenal player who can score at will and is an absolute leader through and through. We've been seeing it for years. So yeah, a little bit envious, I guess, at this point. But yeah, City women definitely getting exactly what they need and more. And as always, we did not cover every single transfer that has taken place this window. Are there any, Gitano, that we left out that caught your eye?
Like I said a little earlier, the only one I'm surprised we haven't heard any rumors about own goal to West Ham. But outside of that, I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, we're covering it well, and of course, as the summer continues, we're gonna keep up with all of the biggest transfer market news, including own goal, right here on Full Time. And now it is time for a local soccer update. The second annual Copa Giovanni soccer tournament took place this past weekend here in Sault Ste. Marie, which saw teams from all across the city and all across the province take part in tournament play through 5 different divisions. That was wrapped up last night. The fields just about held up at Stratford. Yeah, the inclement weather that we had in the lead up to the tournament. It was actually a beautiful weekend to play. Just an unbelievable weekend, not just of soccer, but the spectacle of it. What can you say for this amazing event, which brought so much attraction to our city?
Yeah, I mean, like if the worst thing about the weekend was the condition of the pitches, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty low bar because those the Strathclyde pitches are not great. Um, but yeah, just a phenomenal weekend for the city, for the soccer community. Just you see that. Not that we don't see it, kind of in other things, but it's very sporadic. We see the couple of teams at the field that when we're playing, you see the teams before and team after. Like it's not kind of everyone all at once. So that's always a special thing to see.
it really, yeah, without doubt. And again, it this took so many steps up from last year, and last year was amazing. But just being able to be there every day, obviously playing in the tournament. Again, I said at the beginning of the show that physically I was not well, mentally I am good. Again, for a second straight year, my team did win. We had to do the business on penalty kicks. Uh, that was like, yeah, the longest walk of my life. Take that, but I'm glad that it worked out and I put it in the back of the net. Um, but yeah, it's just I'm physically out of it, but I couldn't be happier. And I know that every other final was the exact same thing of all those teams that were talking after the game, like they were just completely spent. And the fact that teams came up here and the teams that were already here, they really gave everything this tournament. I think that just kind of shows like the sort of grit mentality and passion that we have for soccer here in the city. G.
Yeah, yeah. As much as it's like a fun tournament for for good cause, like at the end of the day, like everyone wanted to win, and I think that edge is just it's got like the perfect balance this turn of like we're here for fun, but also we want to win. Like it's just because not that a super like light fun tournament isn't good, but you want to have some stakes for it, but you also don't want like you don't want teams pulling like Uruguay's and like snapping guys in half like trying to maim guys to win the tournament. I think it's just got the perfect balance for kind of what it is.
Yes, and just for folks that may have not caught it or what have you, all the donations that were made at this tournament all went to our local soup kitchen right here in Sault Ste. Marie. And for the 3 out of the 5 competitive divisions that we had, so the division that I played in, the men's open division, the men's over 35 division, and the women's open division, each of the winning teams got a total of $3,000 that they were able to accompany with their trophy. So again, big things on the line, but obviously the biggest thing being that the soup kitchen was able to benefit. And G, we'll kind of just wrap it up here. It's already being announced that next year, this exact same weekend, will be set for our 3rd installment of the Copa de Giovanni soccer tournament early because we're 365 days away, or 362, I guess, whatever it might be. Could we expect it to be even bigger?
I mean, there's only one way to go, Scarps, right?
Yeah,
Like it's never it's never gonna be smaller. We're always gonna go bigger and better. The Sioux always tries to go bigger and better. So yeah, I think next year's is going to be bigger and better.
yeah, love it, and hopefully we can do that three-peat. That's all I can say. But definitely huge thanks to everyone who came out this weekend and supported all of the vendors and the football and everything else, the live bands and everything that else went along with it. And may this long continue and may it continue to grow. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. You can download and access the Pizza Portal app for any of the 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Have a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As today's show comes to a close, we want to thank you all for being with us. Your support, everything. G, tonight, awesome way to end it out. Well done, my friend.
Yeah, well done to you as well. Thank you again for having me. Hopefully, when we talk on Friday morning, it's some good vibes with Canada. I wish both of us luck in watching that. It's going to be, like we said, a long 90 minutes, but well done tonight.
Without doubt, well done tonight, and it's all on to tomorrow. But specifically for our show, it's all on to the end of this week, which you just mentioned. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of July 8th, so this week, and that'll be on Friday morning. We haven't done this, by the way, a double recording since I believe the World Cup 2022, when we're highlighting those games as well. But in that show, of course, we are going to look at the summer transfer market, Euro 2024, and the Copa America. As always, we will keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of both the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Podbean. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.